Hello everyone and welcome to the second episode of Pokemon Showdown. Alright, so I'm gonna just tell you guys, I don't know what happened to the recording for the second episode here, but don't worry, I have I don't know what happened to the audio recording, I should say. I have the recordings for every episode after this, so all of those will be live commentary, but this one's just going to have to be post-commentary. So I'll do my best to recreate this how I remember it. So I'm going to start out with Mew here, and he's going to start out with Mineshaw. The reason I went with Mew is because most of the Pokemon on his team have a weakness to Psychic, but he just goes with a U-turn here, and he does outspeed my Mew, so that's a pretty devastating hit. My Mew is now down to 50% health. And then he's going to switch into Sharpedo. Now, Sharpedo poses a pretty bad threat to my team. It's Dark Water, and I don't really have anything that hits that very well except for Zapdos. So I'm kind of just thinking about what to do here. In all honesty, I probably should have just Thunder Waved this thing while it was still slow, because it has the ability to gain speed constantly. But it went with a Crunch, so if it did outspeed my Mew, I would have just had to sacrifice it there, and that would have been a problem. Now I just go with a Protect to just get a little bit of health back from my leftovers. Although I can't get too much back. So yeah, this thing just keeps gaining speed every turn that it's out. And I really don't have much to deal with it, so it's a pretty big problem. So I'm considering going out into a different Pokemon here, and I do go into Houndoom, knowing that he will resist the Crunch pretty well, but it still does over half of my health, so that's a pretty big problem. Then I go for a Hidden Power Grass. I don't have a clue why I did that. That was a bad play. Because obviously his Sharpedo is going to outspeed my Houndoom. My Houndoom is very fast, and it has a Choice Scarf, so it'll be able to outspeed most things, but not a 2.5, 3 times speed Sharpedo. So I send out Zapdos, and basically this is my last-ditch effort. Last-ditch effort to kill this thing. So I go with a Charge Beam. He switches out into Snorlax, knowing that his Sharpedo can't take one of those. And Snorlax resisted that very well. That only does about 20 damage, plus it's got leftovers. And then he's gonna Curse on top of that, which gives him even more defense. But it only gives him normal defense instead of special defense, so yeah, this is kind of just a back and forth fight between Zapdos and Snorlax, and neither of them can really hurt each other that much. He does have Rest, as Snorlaxes tend to do, so he just rests that off. But now I'm getting to the point where I'm building up enough special attack with my Charge Beams that I can really actually hurt this Snorlax, and anything he sends out after this is going to be in trouble. So even though he rested, that next Charge Beam would have killed his Snorlax. So he makes a smart play and goes into Nidoking. He probably should have done this earlier. And since my Zapdos is choiced, I'm going to have to switch into something else, because Nidoking resists the electric attacks. So I don't remember who I go out into here. It looks like I'm thinking about going into Rhyperior. But instead I just go into Mew. His Ice Beam almost kills my Mew, but I should be able to get off one Psychic. And this thing is Life Orbed, so each time I use a damaging attack, I will lose some of my health. So he goes back out into Cofagrigus. He probably should have just gone out into Sharpedo because it's dark and I couldn't hurt it with my Psychic attacks, but Cofagrigus takes that alright, and now he goes into Sharpedo. That would have been the smart play originally. So I just go with a Toxic here. Crunch does a lot of damage, but good old Brick Wall Alomomola here can take it just fine. And I've got the Toxic up on Sharpedo, so I'm just going to go with a Wish here and Protect on the next turn, guaranteeing that I get my health back. And slowly but surely, this Sharpedo is actually going down, so that's good. Now he's going to go into Roserade, and my Protect didn't matter, but I do get my Wish back. And this thing resists Toxic, so I'm going to have to go into something else. And he starts laying down Spikes. Now, I found this interesting because if he would have just straight up attacked me with his Roserade, he probably could have killed my Alomomola. Maybe. I don't know. Alomomola is pretty hard to kill. But he uses some hidden power there. I figured out what it was while I was recording this, but I forget. I think I send out something else, and it uses that same hidden power on the next thing I send out. So, if he tried to use it on Alomomola, and it was super effective against Zapdos, it was probably HP Ice or something. Maybe HP Fighting, even. But it really looks like HP Ice. So, yeah, that's just my guess. Could also be Fighting. I didn't get to see what it was. But he's also got Giga Drain, so I don't know why he didn't try to do that against Alomomola. So, I lost Houndoom, Zapdos, and Rhyperior. Pretty much all of my big attackers except for Mew. But Mew is basically out of health. I just sacrifice him there so Blastoise doesn't have to take this Giga Drain. So, now back into Alomomola, all I've got is Blastoise and Alomomola left. And this Roserade can handle them pretty easily. At this point, I'm pretty worried because I can't hit this thing with a Toxic, and I'm basically just stalling here. This is basically my just last attempt to try to do anything to this thing. So, yeah, I try to Wish into Blastoise here, and he just sets up more Spikes. I really don't get what the point of that is. But, yeah, it's looking pretty bad at this point. So I Wish up, go into Blastoise, and I barely survive the Spikes. Can't survive Sludge Bomb. So Alomomola comes back in, and it's fitting that this is my last Pokemon. Basically, the only way this thing ever dies is if all of my other Pokemon die as well. So yeah, he gets a critical hit there. I probably could have lived for another few turns if I wanted to stall. And it kind of looks like this is I mean, I did get swept like 6-0, but Cofagrigus was hurt, and I'm actually talking about the same thing when I originally recorded this. Snorlax was basically down, Sharpedo was basically done, Cofagrigus had half health. I hurt Roserade pretty bad before I got Giga Drained completely to death. But yeah, this is a 6-0 basically, but it was a lot closer than it looked, and really I had a good chance to win this up until Roserade came in and got kind of lucky. But that's it for game 2, guys. Next game is far more competitive, so I'll see you then.